Seitan's been braising on low for 45 minutes, so it's time to make an offering. I want to cut it. Put the light on. So this is hot now, but if it cools down, you can pull it. It's got a nice texture. And as it sits in the fridge, it'll even harden up more. But right now, that's what I was going for. So, time for the offering. Okay, so now I'm going to make a spice rub, which will end up being the broth that the seitan braises in. So we're going to use some chili powder, some cumin powder, some amino salts, some organic miso, white miso, crushed tomatoes, a little turmeric. We got some brown sugar. So I have the seitan, as my wife suggested, in the fridge for 20 minutes just to help it set up a little bit so I can roll it around in the spices. And then I'm going to fry it in butter. I do use butter. I'm a Krishna devotee, so we use butter. So I've got all the yummy spices in there. I got some black pepper in here too. And I'll probably put a drop of salt in it. So this is going to be our sauce that, like a spice rub. And it's also going to be the liquid that the seitan braises in. So it'll pick up these wonderful flavors. So now I'm going to take the seitan out of the fridge, dump it in, and put it in the frying pan with butter. Give it a light cooking on both sides because it burns quick. And then I'm going to put in the sauce and put a lid on it and cover it. Okay, so the seitan has been resting and it's become very pliable. So I'm probably going to knot it up. I actually knotted this one in. I braided it and knotted it. So everyone in the pool, and we'll give it a fry. So here goes. I'm going to lower my pan way down. They cook it up nicely, kind of looking like chicken breasts. You know, also you can pull them apart like a pulled pork. So it really depends on how you season them. So I want to make sure they get a nice little cook on them because that kind of helps firm them up. And they're all knotted, and so I'm going to let them cook for another minute or two, then I'm going to put the marinade right on top. Okay, so now, put the light on here. Now I will add, look at how awesome these are now. I'll add the marinade. Just sort of like a, kind of a little bit like a barbecue sauce. Add some water. Now I'm gonna lower it down and just let it cook for at least a half hour on low. I'll probably flip them once. And we'll flip them. There we go. Okay, so I'm finishing them off by hand. I have some little patties here. I want to keep them small so that the flavoring, I'm going to braise, steam fry. You know, I didn't save the water. The water is good for making noodles and making bacon, the starch water. If you let it sit, all the starch goes to the bottom. But this time I'm just going for some of the seitan, the gluten, and coming out really, really good. Mixed for about 5 minutes, so did an okay job, but the water got nice and milky, so it did do its job. Now I'll do the rest by hand in the sink with some water. I'm stoked. Mixer's on low. The water is just barely above the dough, and we'll let it do the mixing, develop the gluten even more, and separate the starch from the gluten. And then I'll change the water and do it a few more times. Probably do it by hand in the bowl. So now I have the dough kneading for about 10 minutes or so, really developing the gluten. I'm just using some ordinary inexpensive bread flour this time. I did add a little bit of salt to it. So now, while it's in this KitchenAid mixer, I'm just going to let it sit in water while it's here for about an hour. So I'm going to float the dough, I'm going to fill it up, and then I'll actually knead it inside the mixer with the water to separate the starch and the gluten. So a little bit more, and then I'll just let it rest for a while. Today I'm going to make some seitan, or some wheat gluten. So I've got about, I don't know, a little over 4 cups of flour. I did measure it. And I'm going to pour in the water until I get a nice soft dough. And then I'll let it rest in water for an hour.